What's going on? My name is Zach Kenny, and this is our van Hoagie. For over a decade now, my wife and I have dreamt of having a rig of our own. And after countless adventures, both big and small, and of course, the record-breaking Utah winter of 2023, we finally decided to trade in that faithful Tacoma for this Ford Transit 350. And after building the van out to be a place that we could live, work, eat, and explore with, we finally hit the road. So follow along because, simply put, adventure doesn't find you. With the goal of making it back east in time for Christmas, we knocked out the entire 2,200-mile journey from Utah to Pennsylvania in a single weekend. We hit the road Friday night, and we made it to Courtney's parents by Sunday night. Of course, we had to make a quick detour through Pittsburgh, where Courtney went to college and misses it so much.
You excited, buddy?
After a long time in the car, I think Gregor was the most excited to get out. Next up, we passed through Philly so we can head over to New Jersey so that we can stop by and see my family for Christmas. After spending the holidays in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, we pointed Hoagie south to where we'd be spending the next couple months. With our first stop being in a place I hadn't been back to in nearly 20 years, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Even though I was only a kid the last time I was here, I can still remember all the amazing times I had with my whole family down on these beaches. It was just going to be a quick stop over here for a few days that were mostly rainy, but we did get to check out the Wright Brothers Memorial. And this place hits a little bit differently now that I've been working in the aerospace industry for over a decade. It's honestly pretty crazy what these two brothers were able to accomplish, even with today's technology, would be absolutely insane. And I can't imagine where we'd be without these two brothers. Even though this was just a stopover on our way down south, I can't wait to get back to this awesome beach town. I could definitely see Courtney and I spending way more time here. Next up, we were all about to spend a week in Savannah, Georgia, to celebrate my father-in-law's 70th birthday. And though we had to work for most of the week, afterwards, we were still able to get out and experience the best of what Savannah had to offer. The town of Savannah is so pretty. Between the historic homes that are still standing from the 1700s and the massive trees that have grown along the brick-covered roads, there's just so much history to this town. Obviously, some good and a lot of bad. Beyond the homes, the park-like squares with the fountains and memorial statues break up the sprawl of the city, and also a perfect place to go take the dog for a walk every day. I won't lie, one of the best parts about our time here was because it was so warm, I actually got to go ride my bike almost every day, and it was such a welcome change from the normal way I spend my Januaries. Later in the week, right before we headed out, we got to check off something from my bucket list. All of us got to go to a glass blowing class. Though I won't be making any chandeliers anytime soon, we all got a chance to make a little something of our own. Half of us made small whiskey tumblers, while Courtney and her dad made Christmas ornaments. This whole glass blowing process and experience was quite amazing. So much technique and skill, and also just the art side of things in every piece was mind-blowing. Which is why the glass blower pretty much did all the steps with a little bit of help from us. I'd say there's a lot of hand-holding going on, but I understand why. Otherwise, these pieces would not get made. And after we wrapped up and we saw how much work goes into every piece, I appreciate glass so much more. All the big pieces and especially the small ones. Sadly, our week in Savannah had to come to an end and it was time to head further south, to Key Largo, Florida. This year, for my birthday present and her father's, Courtney chartered a fishing guide to take us out to go fish for an evening. With Captain Jason from Lock It Up Charters at the helm, we headed through the narrow mangroves out to open water, where he had us fishing under a wreckage of a sunken boat. With all the lines in the water, I can't count how many fish we ended up catching. The highlight, obviously, was catching all the sharks. They put up a hell of a fight, and they really had us working the reel to get them in the boat. We brought in countless snapper, a bonnethead shark, and a few black tips. Even though we couldn't keep anything that we caught, it's still hard to beat a day out in the water, especially when the sun finally came out toward the end of the day. Plus, we learned so much from Captain Jason. Not only about the fish, but about the Keys and the history and what it's like to live in this kind of paradise. I really wasn't kidding. These sharks were so much fun to catch. They really fought hard.
I can tell. I saw his tail. I'm like...
We finally headed in just as the January sun was starting to set, feeling pretty accomplished, but sadly we didn't get to bring home any dinner, so we had to head out for some fish tacos and a beer nearby at a happy hour. Staying at the Sunset Cove Beach Resort had us centrally located to so many great things. Restaurants, bars, you name it. And it was also another perfect opportunity for me to ride my bike in the beautiful 80-degree weather in Florida in winter. Some days I even got to ride all the way down to Islamorada, where we had gone together as a family a few years before.
Florida Keys!
Even though we didn't get to go scuba diving while everybody was here in Key Largo, it didn't stop us from playing in the water. And by we, I mean Gregor. We couldn't keep him out of the water. I'm pretty sure he would still be in the water to this day if we didn't drag him out to come home. He absolutely loved it. Next stop, on our way up north, we got to experience the Florida Everglades National Park in the best way possible, and that's on a fan boat tour. The four of us hopped on the front row of a fan boat to experience the best parts of the Everglades. Cutting across the shallow fresh water was effortless with these fan boats. And even with the boat loaded up with passengers, they navigated these channels super quickly, and I was shocked, to be honest. And it wasn't long before we actually got to see our first alligator, and then another, and then another. And though both crocodiles and alligators do exist in the Everglades, they don't share the same habitat, so they rarely compete with each other, which was, a fun fact that we learned. An alligator is almost exclusively sedentary animals. That is, except for when they're out hunting food. So, might be a good thing to know next time you see an alligator moving about. We learned so much again from this boat captain. Enough to appreciate this place even more, but definitely too much to know that I won't be kayaking through here on my own anytime soon. And before Courtney's parents had to end their trip and fly back home, we got to stay at the beautiful Sanibel Island. This town is really coming back to life after being ravaged by Hurricane Ian back in 2022. But it's so sad to see all the devastation that has occurred there. Luckily, the beaches themselves remain intact and filled with more shells than you could ever imagine. Each day, new shells get washed up onto the shore, and it's the perfect experience to go beachcombing up and down the beaches, and you will find some of the best shells you've ever seen. Needless to say, every evening after we wrapped up work, we headed to the beach with her parents and really started searching. Of course, you don't get very far because most of the time you're looking down and picking up every single shell that you see. Sadly, this was the end of Courtney's parents' trip with us, but we still had so much more to see and do. And next up for us was to head back down to Key Largo and then eventually up the coast of Florida and all the way around the Gulf. Our winter trip was really just beginning.